had an experience today. I had an experience today, and I'm still trying to make sense of it. And I don't believe I'm just a superstitious charismatic who looks too much into things. I really felt like this was a sign that happened to me today. And I was planning on doing a recording of a Charles Finney sermon, to discipline myself to get back into it again. And, I went and freshened myself up in the bathroom and came out, and I just couldn't get rid of this settled feeling that I needed to podcast on the death penalty. And it just started, like, one thought started feeding into another, and then boom, 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 and it just like started all percolating. And then it was like, okay, death penalty podcast, here we go. So then I started just doing that, and I knew that, I was getting ready for a concert that my daughter was going to be at, where she's playing the trumpet, and with a group, with a band. And so we were getting ready for that, and my wife was going to come and get me, and we were going to go to it. So I finished the death penalty podcast, and I got the burden out, so that, I I don't know if you know what it's like to have your heart be full of something, and then when you podcast or write or whatever, then you feel like the burden's been discharged, the duty's been discharged, and it was all out, and I thought, oh, I think if I string a couple clips together of the Green Mile layered over that Soulfly song, First Commandment, that'd be really good. That'd be heavy. And but uh, but then comes my wife and to take me off to the concert, and so I just kind of leave everything. And so little did I know, I knew that this is all I knew, that my daughter had been practicing the trumpet for 2 months, and she'd been getting better and better at it. And and that we were going to a concert. That was it. It was going to be a band rehearsal type concert. That's all the information I had. I didn't know that there was going to be this theme or anything else than that. So we ended up, she ends up taking me to the Baptist church where all the band kids are getting ready. And they're all dressed in Puritan outfits. And my daughter's dressed in this cute, she's 10 years old. My daughter's dressed in this cute Puritan outfit. She's got like a bonnet and stuff. And they're all dressed in Puritan outfits, and it's a Revolutionary War memorial concert. It's a Revolutionary War memorial concert that they were putting together for us. And I had no idea that this was going to be the theme, um, and that these were going to be the songs. Because all I did was just hear my daughter tooting her horn in the other room for the past 2 months. I didn't know what the themes of the songs were or anything like that. I just knew that she was practicing. So the theme is Revolutionary War, okay? So we leave the Baptist church and we go to a a park that's dedicated to veterans. And we go and we sit down, and it's put on and sponsored by the Sons of the American Revolution and the Daughters of the American Revolution. And I was like, whoa, because my grandma on my dad's side was part of that group, Daughters of American Revolution. And just to get my facts straight, um, in order to be part of that group, you have to genealogically prove that you have genetic genealogical descent from a soldier from the American Revolution, which explains why my grandma did genealogy work, which explains why I have our family history going back to that time period, but not before it. Um, so, uh, and I was suddenly reminded that I am a son of the American Revolution, that through her, I do, and that my daughters are also descendants of our ancestor who was a soldier in the American Revolution, and it was just like a real big reminder to me today that I am a descendant of a soldier who fought in the Revolutionary War uh, in 1700s. So that was really just a moment for me today, and like just not part of my regular pattern of thinking at all. And I'm not a patriotic person. I'm not a politically minded person. I for me, Jesus first, uh, and take care of family needs. That's my mindset. I'm not like one of these guys where it's like constantly struggling with Christless conservatism thoughts. And I want to talk about that for a little bit because this was my moment today. This was my moment to see the importance of American patriotism in light of traditional Christian nationalism, which is of the understanding of the American Revolution, which was a mixture of Puritan values from the Mayflower plus democratic governmental policies and freedom from tyranny. That's essentially what Christian nationalism is supposed to be in the traditional sense. Small town America with sons and daughters of the American Revolution passing on the traditions of the God of our forefathers. And they played songs like that, God of our forefathers, to remind us and give us stories from people from the Mayflower and from the Boston Massacre and stuff like that, and to understand contextually that, you know, before the Masonic Lodge, before Christless conservatism came in through, I guess that came in through Rush Limbaugh. I have no one else to blame but that. Where we have this Fox News sort of thing where, you know, Christianity is not even talked about in people's lives. It's just one news event after another regarding it's just, I hate Christless conservatism. It's where the dad in the house can only talk about military history, can only talk about recent events relating to policy, and cannot talk about Christ. And that is not what America, it is not what the American Revolutionary War was based on. It was not based on Christless conservatism. The Revolutionary War was based on Puritan families wanting to have independence from a dictator, King George. See, the understanding is that it's not that kings are bad, it's that some kings are bad. And that King George had gotten to a point where he just blew it as a king. He had become like Hitler, essentially. And I know that we try to simplify this war, this American Revolutionary War, as just an issue of taxes. It wasn't just an issue of taxes. It was an issue of dictatorship. It was a Stalin type issue. It was a Hitler type issue. And the King of England had gotten like that. And that's why we broke away, and we wanted to create a new system of checks and balances. Democracy had existed to a degree in England through something called Parliament. Okay, so England, and still it's there today. Parliament is essentially what they had in Westminster in London, which was a sort of like a Congress where they would vote on things and then submit it to the king. King George, from what I understand, had overridden all of that. He had overridden it. All right, he had gotten rid of the checks and balances. He had become a dictator, a tyrant, a totalitarian leader. And the American Revolution was about breaking away from totalitarianism. That's what it was. It wasn't just a taxes issue. It was a getting away from totalitarian. And it was so cool. I had some war reenactment guys come, and my family was like way off in the corner. We were sitting, and this George Washington guy comes up to me, acting as George Washington, and comes and speaks to us first. Why us? There's 100 people there. He comes to speak to us first and tells us that he's 200 something years old now. and and after the event, I couldn't get this picture out of my mind of George Washington coming up to talk to us. George Washington and shaking our hands. And it was like really him coming in spirit. And it was just a moment for me, man. It was a moment for me to reignite a proper sense of patriotism in my heart that I had lost. And to also make me feel like, wow, I can do something about this. I have a voice in these matters. And it was really encouraging. And that's all I wanted to say. That's about all I wanted to say. And I think that there was something supernatural going on. I really do. I really, really do. And we heard two cannon blasts that were really powerful. They had gotten this cannon, and it was a field away. And they blasted that thing. We could all feel it through our chest. The cannon blasts were so powerful. It's awesome.